Great day, everyone. You're now tuned into a Voice of Consciousness network. This is a Voice of Consciousness, and today we're going to shoot our first inaugural podcast, and we're going to label and call it Conversations with a Voice of Consciousness. And today we're going to have conversation with an entrepreneur, experienced, well-versed, wise, and we want to share some of her experiences. But before we get to that, we're going to allow you, as well as myself, to get a little more familiar and have some understanding as to what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we're here to inspire, and we are inspired to inspire so that we may inspire more in this journey that we all are on. And so previously I was with a network, internet network, I should say. Previously I was with an internet network, and the name of the show was Get Your It Together. And so what we've done is we've morphed that into a book called Get Your It Together. And we're going to present that at a later date. But right now, we're going to get right on into our conversations with, and we will have a conversation with Jennifer T. Holmes, an entrepreneur of sorts, and she has some other remarkable experiences that we want to share. And it's all about the experiences. Everyone have experiences, and those experiences will give us the wisdom necessary to move in this next paradigm that we're shifting into, which is the fourth and fifth dimensional. And it's more about consciousness, raising, expanding, and those types of things. So without further ado, let's turn ourselves to share with Jennifer T. Holmes. Jennifer, great day, great day. I just want to say welcome. You helping in such a way, in so many ways. I will say that it was an inspiration when we first decided to have a radio show, and I took that for almost 5 years, where you were my cohort in regards to sharing that vision, if you will. And you are a visionary, I can tell, and with our experience in sharing information back and forth. Share with us some experiences that has changed your life in the realm of entrepreneurship, because that's an independent type, self-motivating type of endeavor, and that it takes it takes someone that's interested in seriously motivated and seriously interested in expanding their own life and finding their own path. So give us just a brief background on yourself, just what you want us to know, and then touch on some of the things that has motivated you to continue on your journey.
Okay, great. So thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be involved in this inaugural video for Voice of Consciousness. And so experiences that have shaped my life would be first my parents. That's generally the first experience that we have as beings with our mothers, with our fathers, and then as we grow, then we experience other people in our lives. And so my experience with my mother and my father, with my parents at least, was one where I learned the value of integrity. And to this day, at the age of 43, integrity is still the key for me. The key significant piece for me. Integrity is huge. What that means to me is how we live our lives with ourselves, the relationship that we have with ourselves, and then integrity also impacts the relationship that we have with other people. Integrity with our money, and integrity with our time. So integrity is huge to me. So in relation to what shaped me, I'd say it would be my family. And just life experiences, making those mistakes that aren't failures, but they're lessons in disguise.
Absolutely.
And so those two things definitely. One of the things that I learned at 27 I learned that in our 20s, we kind of think we know everything. I'm not sure why at that age we feel like we know everything, but it was in my latter 20s that I realized from some heartache that resulted from decisions that I made, that I really didn't know everything, and that people, regardless to whether I liked them or not, regardless to whether they like me or not, I could learn from everybody and everything that I encountered. And so that was a major lesson as well.
Yeah, that's powerful. And that your experiences, whatever they were, right, wrong, and different, they helped to shape and allowed you an awareness level of yourself to utilize that and move to the next level or whatever you were in. Excellent. And so what we're talking more, what we're living more is we're living more by our experiences rather than some preset model, which is what our parents have been trained in, and mostly everybody's trained in. And so one of the impetus for this show, as far as I'm concerned, is to illustrate how our experiences are key, as you said, instrumental in allowing us to grow, because that's really what it's all about. We, as beings of light, people don't understand that everything is energy. And so as energetic beings of light, our experiences, depending on how we consciously deal with them, will ultimately expand us beyond our so-said limitations, because we're given limits in this world, and we're said you can only do X, Y, Z, or this is the paradigm, or this is the model, or this is the template you have to follow, versus no individuality, no specific chart for individuals, because it's like we got a certain set standard, and you have to fall in line with one of your standards. And so what I'm hearing from you, as well as what I understand, is that our experiences shape us in ways when we are looking to be our best or give our best aspect of ourselves. Those experiences ultimately, with the raised consciousness, will help us to improve on that, on our life, and the things, and the people start to improve around us. So let's talk about some things that, keeping in line with that, some things that were somewhat challenging for you, that ultimately, when you start to internalize them, it actually made you feel a lot more wise and had a more better understanding versus what you were told by the professionals or whatever. Share with us as much as you would like to discuss.
So, you know, what I will share is something that I don't think is uncommon, unfortunately. And so what I will share is spending a lot of time alone when I was a child.
Okay.
And so because my parents had their own priorities, and unfortunately I was not one of them.
Okay.
And so I spent a lot of time alone. While there's some struggle aligned with that, of feeling abandoned and feeling unwanted, those are definitely challenges and struggles. The awesomeness that came out of that is learning to hear my own voice and learning to hear that inner dwelling, that inner spirit that nudges or urges us towards what's healthy, towards what's better, towards what's safe. Because when we're alone with ourselves, we don't have other people's voices around us, right? And so we kind of learn to hear our own voice, think through our decisions and what will be the benefits and what will be the consequences if I decide to go left instead of right. And so we become an independent thinker from being alone. And I'm not, throwing shade on being in a group or anything like that.
Correct.
But developing our own freedom of thought, developing our own freedom to move according to our own spirit is so significant. And I don't know if I would be the independent thinker that I am today had I not had those experiences as a child of spending so much time alone. And so that it's just been an asset to me, and one of the things that I heard recently is that, we are flesh, we're spirit in the fleshly body. Mm-hmm. And so we're spirits, and we're engaging with other spirits who are also in fleshly bodies. And so that means that we all have multiple components to who we are. We can be kind, and we can also be selfish and be the same person. We can be happy, and we can be a loner. We can be introverted and extroverted, and we're the same person. And life can do that, where we find and learn different pieces and parts of ourselves that are not opposites, but they work together to make us that whole spirit that we are. Mm-hmm. And so life is a journey that allows us to become more self-aware. And the more self-aware we are, the more that we can be loving and forgiving with the other people that we share this world with, and that we share this journey with. So that's a long answer to a short question.
but a powerful one, because you said a lot of key things that were different from the things you said in the beginning. And so what I want to glean or pull out of that is trust, respect, and then balance. Those are like three key components that I picked up from what you were saying, because I share some of the background in terms that I was an only child, and my parents, I won't say they didn't want me, but, they weren't there, okay? But I had a lot of time alone. And so as I look back, like yourself, that wasn't a bad thing, being alone, because it allowed me, like you say, to get independent thoughts. Didn't have a lot of brothers and sisters or people running around telling me or saying things or having their experiences go inside me and have me to have to think about what they're going through, those types of things. But it built a level of trust and a level of understanding and respect for what was innate that I may not have gotten if I had people around me telling me to go this way or go that way or let's do that. So as a child, I came up doing pretty much like yourself, being independent of thought, kind of doing everybody going right, I'm gonna go left, or vice versa. So trust was critical and very transforming for me, in that it was more about me trusting in that voice in me to guide me, me only having to be able to rely on that, because being alone or being a loner or doing the things that I were doing independent of other people, I didn't follow anyone. And I didn't have someone doting mother or father over me telling me a whole lot of things to do or not to do or whatever. Now, I did have the experiences, much like yourself, with people who had a certain amount of love. But what it did was it gave me a level of respect for this power that's in us already. So talk to me, or talk to us about what was, well, we talked about the integrity and how important that integrity is. But talk to us about what came from those experiences when you had to learn the ups and downs, the ins and outs of the integral aspect of being human, or being with people, or being with yourself, type of thing. Let's see if can we touch on a little of that? So
the question is, or the statement is talk about the integrity piece and what kind of came out of that. Yes. How it's translated and broken down
and transformed.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And so I would say the integrity piece has heavily influenced my personal board of directors, if you will. Mm-hmm. So what I mean by that is that, like many in the audience, you may know tons of people, mm-hmm. right? We all know mm-hmm. tons of people. But then there's that 2 or 3 that we allow to get close enough to us to see our flaws, to see our struggles. Mm-hmm. And those are the people that we bear it all to give us guidance when we really need some, mm-hmm. or when we just really need an unbiased ear. And somebody who we know that if they were wearing our shoes, they would give themselves the advice that they're giving us or giving me. Mm-hmm. And so So the integrity piece, to answer your question directly, has shaped the types of relationships I choose to be in. Now, the relationships that I have with my relatives, of course, I was born to them and we share blood, and I didn't have a choice over that. But for all the other relationships that I have a choice in, integrity is the most influential aspect on who I have relationships with, who I allow in my personal space, not just my physical, but in my spirit space, who I allow in my mental space, who I allow in my emotional space. Integrity drives all of that. You know, can I bear it all to this person and they take on what I'm going through just as if it was their own? And can I do the same thing for them? Because it's not just a one-way street. You know, relationships definitely go both ways. And so integrity really drives the quality and the types and the length of relationship. And we all know, for those who've had relationships, like we always do, some are for a season or reason or a lifetime. We don't keep them always. But one thing that we can do is walk away with the lesson. One, how did the relationship or how did the situation or how did the person impact us? What did we learn from it? If I can pivot a little bit and talk about situations,
Sure.
There have been times, even recently, where things have happened and it's made me angry or it's made me frustrated. And so I can remember, you know, in my younger years, I would just react to what happened. You know, probably in anger because I had a temper. So would just react to what happened to me, what somebody did to me. But as I grew or as I matured, now I'm able to say to myself, okay, why does that make me feel the way that it made me feel?
Powerful.
So let's ask that question of me first. Why do I feel that way? And so personally, I journal. And so I get the pen and the paper and I write down, how am I feeling? Am I feeling frustrated? Am I feeling angry? Am I feeling resentful? Am I feeling left out? Am I feeling as if I'm being treated discriminatory? What is it that I'm feeling? So I get all of those feelings out. It's almost like emptying out a wastebasket. So I'm emptying all those feelings out. I get to look at them and say, okay, now why? What caused those emotions to come up? So then we look at what caused it. What was I talking to somebody? Was there a situation I walked into? What happened? And then it doesn't mean that it makes the problem go away. It doesn't mean that the situation goes away. But what it does is strengthen our resolve or strengthen my resolve to be able to handle myself better the next day. Right? And so manage my emotions better. Manage my mental state better, because what's more important than being emotionally and mentally healthy? I can't think of anything that's more important than being mentally and emotionally balanced. And if we don't address those emotions head on, then they'll be wild. It's almost like having an animal in our house that we don't train to behave a certain kind of way, and then it runs through the house and it tears up stuff. We can't blame the animal. We didn't tame it. And our emotions are the exact same way. They have to be trained and tamed in order for us to be healthy beings in this life.
Excellent, excellent. I got some other stuff from that.
Okay.
Choice is a big part of what you just said.
Yeah.
And responsibility. And not so much as putting it on somebody else.
Oh, no.
As much as it's putting it on you.
Absolutely.
Because what you're saying is what I know. Wherever we show up, we're responsible for those people that show up to give us the experiences that we have, because that's a part of the nature of who we are and what we do. Wherever we show up, we bring our energy. That energy is magnetized and is connecting with other like energies. So if you're down, you're going to magnetize and draw to you lower spirits, lower vibration. If you're up, you're going to bring up more upperly mobile energies to you. So your inner is reflecting the outer world that you experience so that you can become more wiser and expand and learn and know and grow and remind yourself, because spirits already know. We already have it. We're just being inspired. The inspiration is reminders, or flicking the light switch on a dark room. Stuff was already in the room. We flick the light switch on, all you're doing is exposing it. And so what you're saying is really powerful. And again, it's key, because responsibility to choice, because you're making choices all of the time. You make a choice about to eat, what you're going, where you're going, who you're going to talk to. What, so you're saying you make integral choices about the people you deal with, about the places you want to go, about how you're spending your time, how you're spending the energy with your mind. So these are key components that must be added to your life, if you're not already. Some control, some management with the emotions. All those things are choices that have to be made in an instant sometimes. So now what I want to know then from you is, do you have any rituals, not necessarily any bad thing, just, a ritual can be you brush your teeth at 9 o'clock every morning, or you have coffee at 7, or when you get to the office, you go to the water cooler and you talk. So do you have any kind of rituals that you do to help to keep you focused and develop these, key choices? Okay, sure.
So there are a few things. One is journaling, which I spoke of earlier. One is journaling. The other is listening to meditations in the evening to quiet my mind down.
Okay.
If others are like me, my mind starts going as soon as I open one eye. My mind starts running 100 miles per hour. And it just continues to do that all day, even when it's time to go to bed.
Absolutely.
So in order to quiet all of that, I'll listen to some meditations, and I just find them on YouTube. Nothing, no big deal.
Okay.
Sometimes they are verbal, sometimes they're music. Most of the time, the ones that I listen to are affirmations.
Okay.
A meditation with affirmations, and sometimes some music in the background. The other thing that I'll do, and I generally do this in the morning, is yoga. It helps get the body physically centered. Mm-hmm. And it also helps because there's breathing that's necessary, to watch the breathing, to concentrate on the breathing. And that is almost like taking a broom through the mind and sweeping out unnecessary thoughts, unnecessary energy. And so the journaling, the meditations, and then the yoga are things that I do to keep myself centered.
Excellent. Wow.
The other thing that I do regularly is take time away from people who get on my nerves. So I want to be real honest about that. If I need to take a mental health day from work, I take a mental health day from work. Mm-hmm. Because guess what? There's going to be a job somewhere all the time. Mm-hmm. And I refuse to sacrifice my mental or physical health for money or for anyone who's not making me a priority. Because if they're making me a priority, they wouldn't ask me to sacrifice anything. Mm-hmm. And so I have learned to put my health first.
Okay.
So.
Excellent. Powerful testimony and expressions of pure delight, because I find it really wonderfully delightful to have shared this time. And thank you for being my inaugural guest on Conversation with a Voice of Consciousness. This is Jennifer T. Holmes, entrepreneur personified, and she shared with you and us some personal things as well as professional stuff, and we really appreciate it. Okay, and we really appreciate that. Just to add to what she just said, and some of the things she said in terms of rituals, I do sun gazing, I do breath exercises as well, transcendental meditation for decades. So those things do get you centered and more focused on yourself, and there comes with that immeasurable expansion in conscious awareness, self-awareness, and not necessarily positivity or negativity, but balance. So with that, we're going to say, is there anything you want to say before we wrap this up? Is there something in particular you want to share, or website, or anything to bring focus to you? This is the platform we utilize for you to support.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So for our first inaugural episode of A Voice of Consciousness and Conversations with a Voice of Consciousness, we're going to sign off for now, and we want to thank everyone for being a part of our space and place.